Welcome, my friends. Welcome to another wonderful math video of some more triangles and trig, your favorite things to do. So here we have an unknown side. If you are watching this video, please pause the video and try to work it out yourself as best you can, and then unpause. So I'll give you a few seconds, and we're back. 65 degrees, and we have an unknown side x, and we have the 120. So what do we know? Well, what do we do? Well, we have an angle. So from this angle's perspective, we have to determine which trig ratio we have an expression for. And we have the hypotenuse, that's 120. I know it's the hypotenuse because it's opposite the 90-degree angle. And we have an x, which is adjacent. So we have the adjacent, and we have the hypotenuse, and you know what that is? That's cosine. Okay, so that means that for us here, we have cosine of 65 degrees equals the adjacent side, x, over the hypotenuse. And so all you have to do is multiply both sides by 120. And when you do so, you can cancel the 120 over there. And now we know that x equals 120 times the cosine of 65. What is the cosine of 65? Well, my calculator says it's 0.422618262. And I just take that and I multiply that by 120. And I get 50.7 blah, 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 blah equals x. So that's the length of this side, and that's it for that one. That's number 2. Let's move on to number 3. Oop. And again, well, not yet. You have to see the problem first. Okay, pause the video, try it yourself, and then listen to the explanation. And we're back. So this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. I know that this is 60 because the interior angles of a triangle have to add up to 180 degrees. Yes. And that means that we have a special ratio. And I expect you all to know this ratio and to be familiar with the ratio based on the 30, 60, 90 triangle. And what that tells you, for example, you don't have to know this for this one, but for example, I need you to know that that is 2h. That hypotenuse is double the shortest side. How do I know h is the shortest side? Because it's opposite the 30-degree angle. Okay, so because h is opposite the 30-degree angle, it's the shortest side. And the second longest side is whatever the shortest side is times the square root of 3. So in other words, this 18 right here is h times the square root of 3. Now why does that help me? Well, if I have an expression for that, I can solve for h. So I can divide both sides by the square root of 3. And that gives me 18 over the square root of 3, and that equals h. And that's actually our answer, except for the simplifying part. But that's the basic gist of it. And if you put that down on the test, you're going to get at least half credit, even though you didn't simplify. But if you want full credit, let's simplify. In order to simplify, you have to remember that you're not allowed to have roots in the denominator. And so you have to multiply top and bottom by root 3. And what that gives you is 18 root 3 over 3. However, they're both divisible by 3, so we can divide top and bottom by 3. And so we get that h equals 6 root 3. And that's your answer, and that's number 3. Moving on to number 4. This one here was tricky for a lot of you. It has to do with those rectangles again. So what I mean is that you can make a rectangle here. Ooh, pretend that line is straight. That was awful. You know what? It's too bad. I have to. You know what? I have the tool. I have a tool. For people like me who are bad at like drawing things. No, that's supposed to be dotted. Oh, that's the rectangle tool. My bad. Here's the line tool. Okay, that's not very dotted, my friend, but okay, whatever. Alright, that's a dotted line. Whatever. It's fine. Okay, so then this right here is 4 because these are opposite sides of a rectangle, and opposite sides of a rectangle are congruent. And you know what that means? That this, since this is 15, that means that this side right here is also 15. Now, why do I care about that? And why would I even think to do that? Well, because because I'm trying to get to the I'm trying to get that unknown side. So this is then 4, and so this is 4 and 15, so they add up to 19. So this must be 3, and that's 3, 4, 5. So this is 5. So if you remember that one, that's going to really help you on number 5, because check out number 5. If you drop down that height again, I'm trying to do it myself. We'll call that good. Then that means that this is 6 as well. And if this right here is 7, which it says it is, then that means that this right here is also 7. And again, I care about that because I'm trying to figure out that bottom side. I'm trying to figure out that other triangle. And if you look at this side right here, we can figure this out. This is a 90-degree angle, and we now have a, I'll call this X, 6x10 triangle. And I would hope that you have some of your Pythagorean triples memorized, that you could just know that this is a 6, 8, 10. But again, I know a lot of you do not. So for now, you just say, hey, x squared is 64, therefore x is 8. So if I know that x is 8, I'll just put this here as an 8. Now I can figure out that side right here, this green side. Because the purple is 7, the magenta is 8, that's 15. 15 plus 2 is 17, so this is 2. And now that I know that this is 2 and I have a right triangle, I can use Pythagorean theorem. 2 squared plus 6 squared equals that third side there, c squared. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not c, it's y. Let's use the letters that they gave us. Y squared, okay, so this right here is y squared. And if you do the math on that, 4 plus 36 is 40. So 40 equals y squared. Square root both sides, and so the square root of 40 is y. And you can simplify that, and what we said is if you prime factorize this, you can figure out what a square root is. And the basic idea is that if you get it all the way down to its factors, the ones that have pairs, like these right here, those can go outside the square root, and the ones that don't have pairs, like this 5 and this 2, those go inside the square root. And so the final answer is 2 root 10. How about that? Hopefully that was helpful to you. Let's see what else I have planned. Number 6. A lot of people screwed up on this, surprisingly, because it doesn't look like what it actually is. It looks like x is the second longest side. It's actually not. It's actually the shortest side. Did you realize that? Because if that's 60 and this is 30 right here, then that means that this is the shortest side. So this means that x is 3, and we're done. And there's no other work to do. You just know your ratio from the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Did y'all get this one? You know that that's half of that, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Number 8. I got a lot of questions on number 8. A lot of them had to do with the calculator because you have to do an inverse function. So what that means here, so we have this angle, and we have the adjacent side, and we have the hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse, of course, means cosine. So we're going to write that out. And I always recommend to write it. Some of you guys get stuck. You're like, I don't know what to do next. I'm like, write it out. And you're like, oh, yeah. Just write it out. 10 over 15. Okay, so in other words, if we can simplify that, cosine of theta equals 2/3. And what that means then is that the inverse cosine of 2/3 equals theta. And that's where you now use the calculator. Now with these TI-30XAs, some of the other calculators are different. You do the function and then the input. And these ones here, you do the input and then the function. So what I mean is you do 2/3 in your calculator, and that's 0.6 repeating, and then you do the inverse function for the inverse cosine, I should say, and that gives you 48 degrees. So that means that this is 48.18 something something something. You can say 48.2 degrees. Okay, so but that's that angle, and that's how you find it. Next up, we have number 9. So let's have a look at this. Again, if you're at home, please pause the video and then watch the explanation. We'll be here waiting for you, and we're back. And so this is 45 degrees. And this is also x. And there's 2 ways to think of this. One is to know the ratios and say, hey, that means that this is x root 2. And if I divide both sides by root 2, then that means that x equals 6 over root 2. And then I'm not allowed to have a root in the denominator, so I multiply by root 2 over root 2. And that gives me 6 root 2 over 2, which is 3 root 2. And that is the answer. But I said there's another way. I actually like this way. I wouldn't necessarily do it another way. But I did point out that you could do a Pythagorean theorem if you just really forgot everything and you don't remember how to do the ratios. And so you get 2x squared is 36. So x squared is 18. Square root both sides. X is the square root of 18. And that turns out to be 3 root 2 as well. So that's another way to do it. Next up, number 15. Number 15. Again, pause the video and try to do your best. And so in this case here, we have, no joke this time. X is the angle. We have to find the missing angle. And we have the adjacent side. And we have the hypotenuse. And that's cosine of x equals adjacent over hypotenuse, so 60 over 120. But you know what? We already know that the answer is 60. So what I was pointing out to another student earlier is that, hey, the adjacent side is half of the hypotenuse. If the adjacent side is half the hypotenuse, that's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Because in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the shortest side is half of the longest side. And it has to be that. It has to be a 30, 60, 90 triangle because it's half. You don't even need to do the trig, okay? The shortest side is half the longest side. If that's true, then hey, that's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And so that's how I knew that x is 60. But let's say you didn't know that and you're just going to do this problem the old-fashioned way. I would say at this point, you're like cosine of x is a half. And therefore, inverse cosine of a half equals x if you don't know what that is. And so therefore, you type that in your calculator and you get that 60 degrees is x. And that's it for those. I said I would do one of the word problems. And the reason why is because distance formulas and finding distances are very important. And this one does kind of suck because we kind of need a grid. But I'll see if I can make it clear to you without it. So this is number 20. So for number 20, there's this triangle, right? So here's the coordinate system. And I'm going to approximate these points. -6, 5, it's like here. 4, 3 is like here. And -2, -1 is like here. And so if you just kind of sketch this, and you're like, oh, this is supposed to be a right triangle, then I can tell that this side right here is the hypotenuse. So this is the 90-degree angle. So this is really just a distance formula between these 2 points, between this point and this point. So in other words, between this coordinate and this coordinate. And so all you have to do to find the answer here is to do the distance formula between those 2 points. And if you don't know what that is, you don't want to do the square root thing, you can do a Pythagorean theorem. You can just do a right triangle. And you can tell that the difference between the y values is 2, and the difference between the x values is 10. And then just do Pythagorean theorem. So 2 squared is 4, 10 squared is 100, 104. So the answer is the square root of 104. Square root of 104. Can that be simplified? Well, it's 2 times 52, so 4 times 26. Yeah, 26 though cannot be reduced. So this is just 2 root 26. That was fast, but I'm assuming you can watch the video and you can slow it down for yourself. And then the last one that I want to do is 24. And the only reason I really want to do it is because it's an interesting problem that requires you to, this is a problem that would be difficult for a lot of people because of the insight that it requires. So here's the flagpole, 15 feet high. I'll give it a little flag, okay? That's supposed to be straight. It's not supposed to be crooked. And then there's this girl, right? Her name is Tamara. And she's standing right here. And she's looking up at that flagpole, right? And she has a height. Her height is 62. And this height right here is 15 feet, which is 180 inches. So we just convert both to inches. And that means that there's a line here between her head and that pole. And that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out this value right here. So that's our x. And we can figure out, since this is 62, that this is 62. So that this must be 118 from here to here. This is 118. And so now I have my, and I also know that this is 11.3. I forgot to say that. Okay, so now I have my triangle. Now I have everything ready. Now I can do my trig. So what that means is that this right here is adjacent and opposite. So this is tangent. So the tangent of 11.3 degrees equals opposite, which is 118, over x, which is what I'm trying to figure out. And so if we rearrange this, we multiply both sides by x, we divide both sides by the tangent of 11.3. No inverse necessary because we're not finding an angle. So this is x equals 118 over tangent of, whoops, I got ahead of myself, of 11.3. And what is that? Well, let's see what these calculators say. 11.3 tangent of that is about 0.2. In fact, it's so close, I'm just going to say it's 0.2. So this is x is 118 over 0.2. So it's really 118 times 5. And that's 590. So this is 590 inches. They probably want that in feet. So just divide that by 12. And that's 49.16 feet. 49.16 repeating. So 49 and a 6, or 49 and 2 inches away. And that's it. Thank you very much. Hope that was helpful to you. Please like, share, and subscribe.